Welcome to South Asia Today, a show that provides you the glimpses of South Asia. I'm your host Yeshi. Here are the headlines. Delta variant hits South Asian nations, challenges health infrastructure. Tokyo Metropolitan Government holds robotic art event. And crowds of devotees gathered for colourful Hindu festival of Bonalu in India. Let's begin the show. After taking a huge toll in India, the highly infectious Delta variant is now spreading rapidly in other parts of South Asia too. Nepal, Pakistan and Bangladesh have been the most affected, with Himalayan countries' health system now strained to a level where it cannot accommodate any more patients. A slow vaccination due to unavailability of doses has only worsened the crisis. Pakistan, on the other side, is grappling with a completely different challenge of vaccine hesitancy, as people influenced by rumours and conspiracy theories are unwilling to take any jab. The government in such a scenario has no option but to arm twist and get the job done.
Hospitals in the Himalayan nation's capital, Kathmandu, are left with limited beds. Those equipped with oxygen are even lesser in number. The government was gradually relaxing the weeks of lockdown, but the highly infectious Delta variant, which took the daily tally to 3,000 cases in a day, forced authorities to take strict measures once again. To stem the spread of the virus, they have extended it by 2 more weeks.
दोस्रो लहर को कारण चाहिँ निकै नै संक्रामक भाइरस थियो, जसलाई डेल्टा भेरिएन्ट भनिन्छ। डेल्टा प्लसहरु नेपालमा भेटिएको हो। दोस्रो लहर ल्याउने कारण नै त्यही थियो। निषेधाज्ञाले कर्भलाई अलिकति फ्ल्याटनिङ गर्यो, तर त्यो संक्रामक भाइरस समुदायमा रहिरहेको अवस्था थियो। संक्रमितहरु समुदायमा रहिरहेको अवस्था थियो र निषेधाज्ञा खोल्दाखेरि जुन हिसाबले मानिसहरु बाहिर निस्के मापदण्ड अपनाएनन्, त्यसको कारणले गर्दाखेरि यो संक्रमण बढेर गयो। हामी संक्रमणको संघारमा छौं। संक्रामक भाइरस हामीसँग रहिरहेको अवस्था छ र हामीले मापदण्ड नअपनाउने भने, अझै सजग नहुने भने अझ धेरै व्यक्तिहरु संक्रमित हुने देखिन्छ।
With fear seeping in and some vaccine batches reaching the country, a large number of them could be seen standing in long queues and others rushing to get into a vaccination center. There have been communication gaps between authorities and people during the local rollout, fueling confusion, local administrative bodies said. Nepal had earlier introduced an online registration system to book slots for vaccination, but the government reversed it for easy and equal access to vaccines. Meanwhile, similar scenes also emerged in Pakistan, where massive crowds gathered at the vaccination center after the government warned it would penalize the unvaccinated. Pakistan's federal government has announced that it would block unvaccinated workers from entering public offices, schools and restaurants, while the general public will be banned from transport, shopping malls and air travels without vaccination certificates. The provincial government in Sindh has been particularly strict for it, has warned people with withholding of salaries and blocking of people's cell phone SIM cards unless they had the required certificates.
मैं पर्सनली कोरोना से डरता नहीं हूँ, लेकिन गवर्नमेंट ऑफ सिंध के कुछ इक़दामात ऐसे हैं जिसकी वजह से मुझे वैक्सीन लगानी पड़ी, क्योंकि हमारी सैलरी रोक दी जाएगी, हमारी सिम बंद हो जाएगी, ये सारी चीज़ें चल रही हैं। इस वजह से आज मैंने अपनी सेकेंड डोज कंप्लीट कराई है। बहरहाल मैं कोरोना से डरता नहीं हूँ।
According to National Command and Operations Center, a military-run body that oversees the COVID-19 operations, out of a population of 220 million, Pakistan has managed to inoculate 31 million shots. Out of this, only 6.7 million have been fully vaccinated. Pakistan's vaccine procurement programs are largely dependent on China's export or through the COVAX program. In another South Asian country, Bangladesh, ambulances in the capital Dhaka have seen a surge of activity as the number of COVID-19 cases jumped, fueled by the Delta variant. following a brief suspension of the lockdown for the Eid al-Fitr holiday in July. Bangladesh ordered a 15-day lockdown again from July 23rd, and many poor, jobless and daily wage earners are struggling to make ends meet. Some rely on handouts for food. Meanwhile, India, which is consistently inoculating nearly 5 million doses per day, hasn't got complacent despite 10 times decrease in the average number of cases as compared to the second wave peak it suffered in the month of April and May. Apart from western state of Maharashtra and southern Kerala, the country has been gradually stabilizing. But the authorities have warned people to not let their guard down, for the second wave, they said, was still not over in the country.
At a time when Afghanistan is reeling under a surging Taliban with its attacks spree killing dozens every day, a large number of locals defying death threats have come out in support of the government, saying they will never acknowledge a terror rule. While it comes as a major boost to the morale of the Ghani administration, the United States' airstrike assistance to its forces is further rebuilding Kabul's confidence. Meanwhile, Russians along with Uzbeks are conducting drills near the Afghan border in line of measures being taken to prevent an uncontrollable situation in future.
Holding a rally in a pitch-dark night, these hundreds of Afghan men and women are putting up resistance to the hardline Taliban ideology. They shouted slogans of Allahu Akbar, meaning God is greatest, and supported the government for its stance. The event was held immediately after a blast near the heavily fortified green zone in the capital. The two sides, Afghan establishment and the Taliban, are stuck in a deadlock for months over Taliban's demands. While Kabul accuses the Taliban of being unreasonably demanding, the other side charges the Ghani administration of being a Western stooge, not letting them have what is rightfully theirs. The United Nations says it is deeply concerned about the rapidly deteriorating situation in the country. It says tens of thousands of Afghans could be at risk of losing everything in the escalating fight.
Moving on to Afghanistan, I can tell you that we're deeply concerned about the safety and protection of people in Lashkargah in the south, where tens of thousands of people could be trapped by the fighting. Our humanitarian colleagues also tell us that in Helmand and Kandahar, there are reported increased civilian casualties, destruction or damage to civilian houses, as well as to critical infrastructure, including hospitals. Hospitals and health workers are becoming overwhelmed by the number of wounded people. We, along with our humanitarian partners in Afghanistan, are assessing needs and responding to it in the south as access allows.
The Taliban have stepped up their campaign to defeat the US-backed government since April as foreign forces complete their withdrawal after 20 years of war. Fighting has been particularly heavy around the city of Herat, near the western border with Iran, and the Lashkargah and Kandahar in the south. The US says that it has not been abandoning Afghanistan as being projected in the media and is doing everything from targeting Taliban through airstrikes to providing safe havens to those who worked for them in Afghanistan.
For months, we and our colleagues in Washington have worked to speed up everything we could in the SIV process. Since the first of this year, our consular staff in Kabul has issued over 5,000 special immigrant visas and interviewed thousands more, some of whom departed yesterday.
Meanwhile, Russia and Uzbekistan are holding joint military exercises near the Afghan border amid fears in both countries that a worsening security situation in Afghanistan could spill over into Central Asia. 1,500 Russian and Uzbek participated in the 5-day exercises that began on Monday last week. In a sign of how seriously Moscow views the potential threat from Afghanistan, it said it would send a much bigger military contingent to Tajikistan for separate trilateral exercises. Tajikistan has also been roped in to make it a more serious affair. And while this all continues, people in Afghanistan are continuously making efforts to flee to Western neighbors to save their lives that has not just been threatened by looming Taliban disaster, but also due to lost means of livelihood. So far, all they have witnessed is disappointment, with most of them, including Turkey, has shut its doors for all Afghan migrants. On the contrary, it has detained all of them who managed to flee, and in all likelihood is going to send them back where they came from.
Now we take a look at some happenings in Asia in a segment called Asia Watch.
Hong Kong leader Carrie Lam has notified the government employees, including those in education and health sector, that they will have to pay for regular COVID-19 tests if they do not get themselves vaccinated. Life in Hong Kong by and large has returned to normal, with city not recording any cases in past 2 months. However, that could only be made possible after heavy travel restrictions were put in place and hotel quarantine was made mandatory. Lam also said that government is considering extending the availability of free vaccination centers by 1 more month, and people can get themselves jabbed until the end of October. Earlier, several businesses had announced a range of perks for those who take vaccines, including a lottery prize of an apartment worth about $1 million.
Keeping fit physically and mentally during a lockdown is not easy, even for penguins at this zoo in Thailand. They are used to being watched by the admiring crowds who visit Hau Hu Open Zoo as they splash around the pool, but since July 23, when the current coronavirus lockdown started, there have been no visitors. The flightless birds have been maintaining their usual routine thanks to Tosapol and other zoo staff during this lockdown and several others that have preceded it since the pandemic hit last year. Each day, they are fed 25 kilograms of short mackerels split between 2 feedings. They then enjoy a swim in an outdoor pool before returning to an air-conditioned enclosure. There are 41 penguins at the zoos with ages ranging from 1 month to 18 years. Zoo Director Tavin said although the zoo is closed, work and training at the zoo has to continue for the animals' well-being and enrichment.
Israel was struck by 2 rockets from Lebanon this week, the Israel military has said, adding that they retaliated with artillery. Israel's Magen David Adom ambulance service said there were no casualties on Israeli side of the frontier where fire burned through a field. Sirens warning of a rocket attack sounded in several Israeli communities near the Lebanese border. The official military statement said that 3 rockets were launched from Lebanon, with one falling short of the Israeli border and the other striking inside Israel. Witnesses in Lebanon also reported that several rockets were fired at Israel. The border has been mostly quiet since Israel fought a 2006 war against Hezbollah guerrillas who have sway in southern Lebanon. But small Palestinian factions in Lebanon have fired sporadically on Israel in the past, and 2 rockets were launched at Israel on July 20, causing no damage or injuries. Israel responded to that incident with artillery fire.
Next, we will see how Japan is making the lives of people better with its advanced technologies. At one side, Tokyo Metropolitan Government holds robotic art event at Ueno Onshi Park, while on the other side, Japanese famous watch and electronics company Casio has launched an electronic piano in Tokyo. Let's have a look.
Coinciding with the Tokyo 2020 Olympic and Paralympics Games, The Constant Gardeners event is being organized at UNO Onshi Park. The 3-month-long event is organized by Tokyo Metropolitan Government in association with artists from United Kingdom. In this event, the artists are 4 robot arms, the models are Olympic athletes, and canvas is a Japanese Zen garden. Analyzing past video footage from across a wide range of sporting disciplines and events, the Constant Gardeners communicate and celebrate the motion and physicality in professional athletics.
東京フェスティバルなんですけれども、こちらは今開催されている東京オリンピック・パラリンピックに合わせてですね、スポーツの面ばかりではなくて文化の面で盛り上げる、基本的にオリンピック・パラリンピックというのはカルチュラルオリンピアードということで、文化プログラムも実際にやっていくということがある程度規定路線になっておりまして、あといろんな方にオリンピックに関わってもらいたいという趣旨で、文化プログラムをやってきて、それが東京フェスティバルという傘の中で今動いているということです。
4 robotic arms work alternatively at a traditional Japanese Zen garden to draw in art to mark the Tokyo 2020 Olympic and Paralympics Games. In daily performances, the gardeners collaborate to create 150 unique illustrations throughout the Olympics. Japanese traditional Zen garden has attracted the people with robotic artwork during the mega sporting event.
The one thing that, as the artist and the author of this work, I was really keen for people to experience if they could come here, which is obviously more difficult now, was to create a moment of calm, a moment of reflection, and a moment to meditate.
UNO Park is one of Japan's 5 oldest public parks, known for spectacular cherry blossoms in the spring, UNO Zoo, and many museums. Its history started in the Edo era, about 400 years ago. 3rd General of Edo government built a big temple here, and an internal political war was developed. 150 years ago, it is nominated as first official park in Japan.
上野って割と歴史のあるところですから、ちょっと古いものが多いんですけれども、こういう最新の技術っていうか、そういうのが合わさって面白いと思います。
Tokyo Olympic and Paralympics Games is being in the wake of Corona crisis. It expresses the direction of future path. The robotic artwork by Tokyo Metropolitan Government at a historical park sets a new pattern. Due to coronavirus pandemic, people are compelled to stay at home in Japan. This situation has brought an unexpected trend. Japan's watch and electronics company Casio has launched an electric piano. It accelerates enjoyment of playing music instrument while staying at home.
このコロナ禍の状況で、在宅勤務プラス、休日もやっぱり外に出ることができなくなったところで、初めのうちは良かったんですが、だんだんと暇になってきて、でそんな時に主人がもともと趣味でギターとかをやってるので、合わせてセッションみたいな感じでできたらいいねみたいな話から、ちょっと電子ピアノっていうのを探し始めたのがきっかけ。長さというか音の数があって、軽い、思ったよりも軽くっていうところが決め手ですね。ピアノぐらい可愛い赤でって言っても、この赤ってなんかちょっと朱色っぽいっていうか、あれなので、どんな色にも部屋の家具にも合うかなっていうところで、キーボードバージョンとかオルガンバージョンとかあるので、ちょっとそれに合わせた曲とか探して弾いてみたりとかしてるので、とてもちょっと飽きずに楽しんでます。
Casio analyzes that the trend of music instrument is verified according to the transformation of daily life. Long-time homestaying reminds people the experience to learn or play music in the past and challenge to play it again.
このような状況の中で、自宅で過ごされる時間が増えていると思います。そんな中で鍵盤楽器というのは一人で手軽に始められる楽器でもございますので、音楽というものを気軽に楽しんでいただく、一人でも多くの方に音楽を楽しんでいただくということを基本的な事業理念にしておりまして、こちらのモデルもこうやって持ち歩きもできますので、使う時には好きなところに置いて気軽に音楽を楽しんでいただけるようなものになっております。
This piano model installs 61 kinds of music tone. It includes acoustic piano and also the music tone of electric piano, organ and synthesizer are installed. It enables to choose favorite music tone for keyboard player. Not only keyboard function, but also new developed speaker is attached. It provides clear and powerful sound despite of small size, saves space and full impact is the policy of Casio.
India is known for its festivals and the exuberance they bring along. While few festivals are celebrated with equal zeal and enthusiasm across the country, others are restricted to a particular state or area. One such festival is Bonalu, an annual festival which was celebrated recently in southern Telangana state. The annual festival was observed with enthusiasm by following COVID-19 protocol. Take a look. Donned in colourful traditional attire carrying decorated pots, also called Bonalu, on their heads, devotees in Hyderabad city throng to temples of goddess Mahakali to celebrate Bonalu, the auspicious festival. During the month-long festival, Hindu goddess Kali is worshipped in regional incarnations like Myasamma, Pedamma and Yalamma. According to the Hindu religion, goddess Kali embodies Shakti, a feminine energy, creativity and fertility, and is an incarnation of Parvati, wife of Hindu god Shiva.
कोरोना जैसी बीमारी आज इस दौर में पूरी दुनिया में है और पूरी दुनिया को झकझोर के रखी है। ऐसी ही बीमारी तेलंगाना के एक दौर में मलेरिया के नाम पर निजाम के दौरान आई थी। ये बोनाल बनाने का मकसद भी यही है कि बीमारी को दूर निकाल के फेंकना।
Celebrated in the Hindu month of Asar, Bonalu is the reflection of Telangana's rich culture and traditions. During this festival, a sea of devotees fill the roads of the city and dance on the tunes of traditional folk music. On the occasion, artists dress up in various mythological characters and perform in the procession. Not just this, even women prepare rice cooked with milk and jaggery in new brass or earthen pots adorned with neem leaves, turmeric, vermilion and lit lamp on top of the pot. Every year one can see a number of women marching towards the temples of goddess Mahakali to mark the occasion.
मुत्ताता से लेके परदादा से लेके चल रहा है पूरा, ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं। हमारे छोटे बच्चे भी है, हमारे भाई भी है। ऐसा कैसा हो रहा बोलो तो पहले से हो रहा है, आज नहीं नहीं बोलते भी 60 साल से 70 साल से हो रहा है। हम ऐसे निकालते रहते, मेरे बच्चे भी निकालते।
Intended to protect against coronavirus and usher in peace this year, Bonalu festival is considered as a thanksgiving to the goddess for fulfillment of vows, ward off evil spirits and bring in peace and harmony. Observed on 3 different Sundays at different places in the twin cities, Hyderabad and Secunderabad, the festival's origin traces back to the 18th century. It's time for me to wrap up today's episode. We will be back next week at the same time. This is Yeshi signing off on behalf of the entire production team of South Asia Today. Goodbye and take care.